33 weeks. 33 weeks we've been doing this podcast. We don't get any respect from anybody. Not Cornette, not Wade Keller, not even the great Chris Jericho himself. We get no respect. All we ask for a little acknowledgement for the hard work that we do on this podcast.
Dude, did you just cut a promo on a package of candy?
No, man, that's last year's Halloween candy. That's nothing. Cue the intro.
The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions. The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and David.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going this week?
I'm doing really well, bud. How are you?
Doing all right. You know, was fighting a headache all day today. A little under the weather, but it's podcast day, so you know what that means. Cold beers and wrestling.
Some beers.
Just want to, before we get into the show, want to let everybody know that we do offer an audio-only version. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, you can find us on Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Breaker, and Google Podcasts. So if you check us out on the audio-only versions of the show, leave it in the comments down below where you guys are listening to the audio-only versions. Or if you're still watching on YouTube, that's great too. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, subscribe, whatever each of these platforms allows you to do. Make sure you're followed, subscribed, so you're always up to date on when every episode goes live. It is every Saturday. But we got a big show coming up for you this week. We got a couple items on Breaking Kayfabe, BTE, AEW Dark, and I gotta say, one of the greatest 180s in AEW history from week to week episodes. I can't wait to talk about that a little bit more. But why don't we get right into Breaking Kayfabe and let's talk some news.
Let's do it.
So this came out last week. And I hummed and hawed about throwing it in. It's getting a little bit more traction out there, so I figured we better talk about it this week. The Ken Shamrock, UFC Hall of Famer, former Intercontinental Champion, WWE. He was part of the corporation. He was kind of I don't want to say integral, but he was a big part of the Attitude Era in WWE. After his WWE run, he went back to the UFC, had some great fights with Tito Ortiz, if you remember that big feud, and he ended up landing in Impact Wrestling the last few years. I think he's been in and out of the company over the last 20 years. So he's still been a part of professional wrestling. With that said, Impact Wrestling is inducting Ken Shamrock into their Hall of Fame. And he took to Twitter, which is interesting. And we'll talk about this here in a second. But he took to Twitter to ask The Rock himself if he would post and record an induction message, basically, for Ken Shamrock. I have the tweet up on the screen right now. At The Rock, hey brother, I'm being inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. I would be very grateful if you could send an induction greeting. After all, I believe my time with you was my greatest memories in wrestling. Thank you. And it wasn't too much. It wasn't too long later. It was actually just a couple of hours later. The Rock replies, Congrats, my brother. Awesome news. I will take care of this and get back to you this weekend. So, I mean, the news, the articles were written. The Rock Impact confirmed. No, but
they wish.
The Rock will appear. I mean, it'll be, self-shot video format, I'm sure. But The Rock is going to appear on Impact Wrestling. This is really big news. He's doing this, I'm assuming, without the blessing of Vince McMahon. Not that he's under contract or anything like that, but this is big news. What do you think about all this?
It is interesting that, like you said, he went to Twitter to do this. You'd think that if you're enough of a bud with somebody, that you would like phone them up and have this in a private conversation. So I feel like there's some strategy or some reason why it was posted on Twitter. I don't know what that is though.
I've read some speculations out there. I never thought of this myself. I'm taking this from somebody, but they're like, well, if Ken Shamrock posts this proposal online and The Rock says no, he looks like a jerk. So it kind of puts him in a corner, puts The Rock in a corner to where, well, I gotta really do this. Where if he calls him in private, no one knows about it, then maybe he can say no easily or easily. Yeah. That's the speculation.
But I mean, he could ignore it. I'm sure The Rock gets 50,000 mentions on Twitter a day. So
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I watched the Attitude Era, and I remember a few like IC title matches between these guys, but the way he it's like they went on this like 2-year run together feuding, and it's just like I don't remember this, but I mean, it must have happened. But
yeah, I don't really remember that much about Ken Shamrock at that time. He was a secondary, possibly third third tier guy.
He was he was a lower mid carder at best, but he was in WWE at the time where they wanted legitimate athletes, right? Like we had Dan Severn was a big feud of his, a legit UFC champion, as well as Ken Shamrock. You had Mark Henry coming in at that time. A couple years later, Kurt Angle. Like the WWE was really going after these legitimate athletes, if you will. So
yeah,
he had a spot in the company, but it is what it is. But I mean, congratulations. If Impact feels he deserves a spot, I'm sure this is Don Callis and Scott D'Amore. This is their decision. Essentially, they must feel like he's had enough of an impact on the business for them to put them in his Hall of Fame. And I don't know. I might have to tune in. This is gonna all happen at Bound for Glory, October 24th. So a couple weeks from now, I might have to tune in just to see The Rock on Impact Wrestling. I just think it'll be cool.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to a quick little piece of business here. All Elite Wrestling has changed their @ on Twitter. It is no longer @AE Wrestling. It is now just @AEW. So, I mean, not huge news by any means, but I'm assuming this Twitter handle was taken at the time of inception, and it's taken them a while to buy out whoever had it, or I think there's some rules where if the person holding on to the account hasn't tweeted in so long that it's up for grabs or something. Needless to say, All Elite Wrestling is.
Can you even make a 3-character handle? Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe, yeah, they had to have so many stipulations first. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the news. One more.
It's a lot better. It's a lot better handle.
Yeah.
Than AE Wrestling.
Wrestling was really. I mean, I'm glad there's autofill sometimes. Let's just say that. Last piece of news on the docket. Did I say that right? I don't know.
Yeah, sounds good.
The ratings for this past week that we're about to cover in this episode, AEW puts up a decent number at 866,000. There was a peak number that we'll talk about later in the show that was a lot higher, which is really surprising. NXT brings in 732,000, but the champ of the night, you might think it was the presidential debate, but it's the South Park pandemic episode crushes the Wednesday night ratings with 2.3 million viewers.
Wow.
That's insanity. South Park just dominating the wrestling. What would you think of these ratings this week?
Yeah, I mean, consistently AEW ahead of NXT, and that's all good stuff. And you know, I think the South Park thing is just it was a special, right? It's a one time deal.
It's an hour-long episode or something like that.
Yeah, so I think when these special events happen, presidential debates and things like that, then it kind of skews the numbers for a week. But I thought AEW did really, really well.
I mean, almost 900,000. That's a decent number for, like you said, there's a big special South Park episode. Presidential debate was going on the same night, I believe, or it was the night after. Can't remember when it all went down, but yeah, decent number this week. And like I mentioned, the opening segment of this week's Dynamite brought in over 1 million viewers. So
okay,
we'll talk about that a little bit more when that time comes.
Everybody was hoping Cody was going to open the show.
Maybe, but all right, let's move on to Being the Elite. We had episode 223, Sour Patch Kids. This was another miss for me. This was not a great episode. We had a crappy episode, then we had a really good episode, and now we're back to a crappy episode. Not even the Dark Order was really hitting for me on this week.
It all started with that cold open that was over 5+ minutes long and not funny. Yeah, just way too long. Yeah.
Like we buried the segment last week where Brandon's on the phone with Hangman, we're assuming, and I forget Jabroni's name there, but he's scarfing down the angel food cake behind Brandon's back, and we're like, yeah,
Megabyte.
It just went too long, and here they go and make the exact same mistake with the exact same joke. And yeah, 5 minutes in and I'm already not even watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like they're lacking a bit of story at the moment. We'll see where that goes. I think the best segments for me was Dark Order singing Cody's entrance music, and the something Cody Rhodes part. It was hilarious. The Cutler cam.
Oh, in the
only time I'll probably ever say that the Cutler cam was a good part of BTE, but I thought it was interesting how they work the show and how there's all the cameras and how they call it out. I thought that was really interesting. And then Eddie Kingston, he's gonna be like Dark Order. Every time he's on BT, it's gonna be, very few times he misses. And I thought he had a really good part in this one. But yeah, overall, it was a stinker of an episode.
You bring up the Cutler cam in the production truck, and I'm like, I could do that. I do that for our show. Multi-cams.
Yeah, that's totally true. For everybody listening, when Jeff and I watch wrestling, he's constantly criticizing the camera guys, and I guess it's not the camera guy's fault now, right? It's the guy in the truck saying, you need to flip to this one. So
yeah, for sure. But you know what? I'm gonna call out another segment that I thought was really well done And for me, the most entertaining part, and I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth. But,
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
But Spanglish was good this week. I don't know what it was, but, we get Alex Abrahantes. He's coming down the stairs, and it's almost like he's going to do the normal Spanglish thing, but then he throws to this, like, special edition, and we get this, like, Spanish soap opera kind of gimmick between Ortiz and Dasha, and Thunder Rosa makes an appearance. Was it Orange Cassidy comes into the room, or was it
Kip Sabian?
Kip Sabian, that's right. I saw sunglasses and I got distracted. But yeah, it was all very, very funny. It reminded me of a stand-up comedian, Pablo Francisco, that we both like, who makes fun of Spanish soap operas and stuff like that. And I was just waiting for ¿Por qué Maria? Like I thought someone was gonna get like super intense, but
yeah.
But instead, Ortiz does the crying, just like Pablo says it was. I was super entertained by Spanglish this week.
Yeah, I think the fact that it wasn't, about a word, and then they were, kind of giving a definition. They actually had a story this week, and I did not expect the ending to that. So hopefully they do that again. It was more interesting what they've done in the past.
Yeah, we'll see if this becomes a weekly bit, much like some of the other long-term storytelling we've had on BTE in the past. Like, not as good, but the Luchasaurus saga, looking for his tail. Like, I mean, at least it followed up week by week, and it did something. This is something I can get on board with the Spanglish crew. Enjoyed it. It was yeah, and that was basically it. I mean, we got to see a Public Swole announcement. There's nothing really new there. It's just weak promo work by Big Swole, and it is what it is. Ended off the show with Best Friends trying to trick Silver into, or trying to get Silver to kill Brandon Cutler for them. And he takes it a little too literally, and the Best Friends kind of get on Silver's case for taking it a little too far. And, the episode kind of ends with Brandon on the ground and the camera fading to black. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know.
John Silver is the man. Every now and then I'll read the comments of what people thought about the episode, and he is so over. Like, everybody loves John Silver. And it wasn't too many episodes of this show ago where we weren't thinking too highly of these two guys.
Well, I mean, they've been on a roll for a solid 2 months, I feel. But yeah, it wasn't that long ago that it was Long John Silver and Alex Riley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've given them the respect they deserve. It's John Silver and Alex Reynolds now. I mean, again, overall, it was a rare miss, but it had its moments, as it always does. But it was a miss for me this week. Let's keep the show rolling and get right into AEW Dark. This was episode 53 from Daly's Place. Not so supersized of an episode this week, but still pretty big.
Yeah, only 9 matches this week. I'll quickly go through them. In the first match, we had Ray Rosas.
I'm not sure.
I didn't even watch Dark this week, so we're gonna call him Rosas and Ryzen, which I like. I like Ryzen. He's good against SCU. Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, they go over in this one. I thought it was interesting that Scorpio Sky was a part of this match, since he's supposed to be going in a singles direction. Did you find it weird that he was tagging up this week with Kazarian?
Yeah, and I mean, we touched on this last week on the late night Dynamite Tuesday episode, where he kind of lost where his character was. All of a sudden, he was the blue chipper babyface. All of a sudden, helping his opponent up, shaking his hand, congratulating him on a great match, and now he's back in the tag team picture. I think what the idea behind this is that it was going to be Scorpio Sky and Kazarian, the first ever AEW tag team champions, going up against current AEW tag team champions FTR on this week's episode of Dynamite. So maybe this was a tune-up of some sorts. Let's make sure we're still, clicking on all cylinders here. I'm guessing that's why this is arranged the way it was, but it's odd. Like, I don't know. Did somebody lose faith in Scorpio Sky's ability to pull off a singles run, or does somebody change their mind? I don't know what's going on, but I'm not liking what they're doing to Scorpio Sky. I thought he had a good thing going. His promo about bringing his own chair to the dinner table was a little corny, and the kicking down of the door in that one entrance. But right. I did like where the emotions were coming from. For Scorpio. I
wonder if this has something to do with Miro. Right, like, so you're in meetings with the Bucks and Cody and Tony Khan, and hey, Scorpio, we're gonna push you, and then Miro happens, and now you're not that guy anymore. I wonder if it's something like that.
Never thought of that. That'd be pretty sucky if that was the case.
Yeah, like I wonder if sometimes wrestlers have to go and say, you know what, maybe I'll go tag because I might get more time on TV or have more opportunities that way. I'm not speculating. I'm just wondering if it could be something like that. But I mean, we'll talk more about that match later on in this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
In match number 2, we had Alex Garcia versus Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford going over in that one. In match number 3, Best Friends goes over on Mbadu and what the heck is that? BSHP King? Did you watch this match?
Skipped it.
Yeah. If anybody watched this match, write it in the comments what you thought about this one. In match number 4, we had Jurassic Express versus Dark Orders 5 and 10. Jurassic Express going over in that one. And in match number 5, the hottest tag team in AEW wrestling, the Gun Club. They beat Sean Dean and Cesar Bonani. Bonani,
that's what it says.
All right.
I just want to.
I should have just watched this show just for the pronunciation of the names.
Right. There was a lot of debuts on this one. Alex Gracia, not Garcia. It's Gracia.
Oh, Gracia. Okay.
She debuted. Rosas debuted. I think Bonani was debuting. And that was about it. But yeah, what I wanted to mention with the Gun Club is that the other son, the gun son, if I can say that, he was ringside. Like, he wasn't, in the crowd or anything like that. He came out with them. He was working the manager role in a way. Obviously looks lost out there, but he had a good time with
and he has been doing that for the last little bit.
Oh, has he? This is the first one I've watched. And,
yeah.
I didn't realize.
I've just been watching them because I think they're like 5 or 6-0 in the last 6 Dark episodes. So.
Oh, definitely. If they're not in the top 5 in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be really upset. I'm going to have to give Tony Khan a call and ask him what the hell these rankings are even for.
Right, or who comes up with them. Match of the night in match number 6, Tay Conte versus Red Velvet. I'm only assuming you caught this match.
I may have slowed down to normal speed to watch this one. This was a really good match. This was kind of Tay Conte's coming out party in a way. She got to really display her talents using that judo background. We got to see a lot of submission attempts, She's got this boa constrictor type moniker behind her right now. Brazilian heritage, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She's really showing off a lot of that mixed martial arts style stuff. And she pretty much has her way with Red Velvet on this one. But this match, as always, was all about after the match.
Right.
During this match, Anna Jay was ringside. She was in the crowd. Camera was constantly on her. I don't blame them for that. She was clapping. She was cheering Tay on. When Tay got the win, Anna Jay, that is, immediately jumps the rail, gets into the ring, gives Conte a hug, congratulates her, and Tay kind of wants to be the good person here and help Red Velvet up. But Anna Jay kind of pushes her aside and says, don't worry about it. I got this. Anna Jay helps Red Velvet up. And I got to give Excalibur and Taz props here because they're really putting over the fact maybe she's trying to recruit Red Velvet now too. She's offered her the Dark Order to Tay Conte. Red Velvet is on a bit of a losing streak. Maybe she's recruiting. And then all of a sudden this, they called it something. It was like the J kick or something like that. Out of nowhere, it's like a way better move than whatever Anna Jay was doing before. But yeah, it was deadly looking. Takes Red Velvet out, and Tay Conte looks confused and just confused about what just happened. And I can't help but feel like we've seen this before with Colt Cabana. Are we going to get this same story where Tay's not sure what the Dark Order is really about? And are we just going to replay this whole storyline over again with Conte?
Yeah. I think it was last week when you made a comment about, don't present the material to us like we're idiots.
Right.
Like, we know it's wrestling. At the very least, you're watching the show. You know what Dark Order is about. So you pretending like, oh my God, you're really beating that person up. Like, to me, it's a little bit hokey, but you're right. We've seen this story before. It's totally Colt Cabana.
I one of my biggest criticisms of the Vanilla brand is they recycle storylines often. And by often, I mean, every year we get to see a similar storyline in a way. In the worst case scenarios, it's 6 months, 3 months maybe. But I mean, AEW, you're really gonna bring the exact same storyline with the exact same faction, and the first story's not even over yet. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Like I said, don't take us for idiots. Like, I remember, like, Vince always feels like the fans never remember. Well, they won't remember that we did this with them, kind of thing. Kind of, it's like, no, we always remember. Like, so I don't know. If they do it differently, I'm all for it. But right now, it's exactly the same so far, and I just feel bad for Tay that this is where they're taking her.
Yeah. I think the story with Stu Grayson is better. They should push that one.
Yeah, for sure. You're talking about Anna and Stu?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's classic. All right.
In match number 7, we had Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, the new Hollywood Blondes, versus one of the newest tag teams to get a name in AEW, the Chaos Project. And Chaos Project goes over in this one. Luther and Serpentico getting the win. What do you think about this new name, Chaos Project?
It's better than Death Triangle. I mean, that's really all we can compare it to.
That's the line now, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just has to beat Death Triangle, and it's already not a bad name.
Is the bare minimum of what a faction name can be. And as long as it's above that bar, I mean, I'm going to be all for it. I think it fits these two, though. You know, the original Death Dealer. We don't really know too much about Serpentico, but he seems to be fitting in with Luther a lot more than I would have gave him credit for. You know, when we first saw him on AEW Dark, you know, pandemic era a few months ago, but he's starting to wear the contacts, so all you see is his pupil. You know, like he's starting to
build that character.
Yeah, reform himself in kind of the eyes of Luther, and I mean, we're gonna find out a little bit later on in the show. Here is they're getting a pretty big nudge next week, so watch out for Chaos Project.
And as far as names go, I mean, anything's better than Slapjack and T-Bar. Just saying. And that's a shot at somebody.
Yeah.
All right. In match number 8, we had Nyla Rose versus Rache Chanel. Nyla Rose going over in that one. And in the main event, we had Natural Nightmares versus, and this is a weird combination, John Silver and Colt Cabana.
Yes.
Again, I didn't watch Dark this week. Didn't have the time. Did you see this main event?
I didn't bother watching this one. I kind of knew where it was going. It surprised me that it was Colt Cabana. They did a little bit of a backstage kind of segment leading up into the match where John Silver was really like, oh, do I have to tag with him? And Evil Uno was just like, yeah, you know, Reynolds isn't around right now. You know, we got no one else. So, you know, 5 and 10 already wrestled. You know, all that's left is Colt. And then Colt comes running down the stairs and is like, oh, are we ready to go, guys? You know, chipper as always. And they go on about their business. But, I mean, we saw it on Being the Elite. Reynolds wasn't around. So
he was at fencing camp.
I thought it was tap dancing camp.
No, it was fencing.
That's just lame.
He was learning how to, because that was the excuse. The original excuse was that he was helping his dad get his foreskin cut off, and then he says that he's at fencing camp, and he's like, well, who's lying to me? And he's like, well, I'm learning how to use a sword yeah. I mean, it was a pretty weak joke, which is probably why you don't remember it.
Right. Needless to say, Reynolds isn't around. I'm not sure if he's taking precautions, much like Lance Archer. I got 30 years of Chris Jericho on my mind right now.
Lance Storm, All Elite.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyways, I didn't watch the match. It was an odd pairing, but I mean, it makes sense that Natural Nightmares go over on this one.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that was AEW Dark. Let's get right into this week's power rankings. We are Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. What do we got?
We don't have a lot of changes this week. Absolutely no changes in the men's division. Jon Moxley, Brody Lee still our 2 champions. Lance Archer, the number 1 contender, followed by Brian Cage, MJF, Cody, and Scorpio Sky. In the women's division is where we have our only changes of the week. Sheeta still the champion. Nyla Rose still the number 1 contender, followed by Big Swole. Penelope Ford moves up 1 position, Abaddon down 1 position, which I guess kind of makes sense. We haven't seen her in a few weeks, and Britt Baker rounding out the top 5. In the tag team division, absolutely no changes from last week. FTR still the champs, Best Friends the number 1 contenders, followed by Young Bucks, Natural Nightmares, Butcher and the Blade, and Proud and Powerful.
No Gun Club yet.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's gotta be. All right. Well, let's get right into this week's Wednesday Night Dynamite. The date was September 30th, 2020. Live from Jacksonville, Daly's Place. I mean, overall thoughts on this week's episode. You know, we had such a horrific episode last week. I really think they brought their A game back this week, and we had a hell of a show.
Yeah, and I think it started with the first match. I think that sort of sets the tone, and it was a really decent first match, and we had a really good show. I was into it the entire time. So, and then next week, which we'll hear about a little bit later, is set up to be a really awesome show.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't pick up my controller once this week. So there's no Tony Hawk being played. There's no Call of Duty. So, it was a good show when. But you mentioned the very first matchup of the night. We had Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin. This was a hell of a match. It drew almost 1.1 million viewers. It was the peak of the night. Rightfully so. People like to tune in just to see what's going on, and they got to see one hell of a match. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. I feel like I haven't seen Darby Allin in a match in a while.
No.
I mean, he was in the Battle Royal. He's been in a couple of, run-ins or whatever, but we haven't really seen him in a match in a while, and it was good to see him back. And lots of spots in this match. We had a interrupt by Brian Cage and Will Hobbs, and that was probably the worst part of the match. But
we didn't need it.
Yeah, Ricky Starks, I think, did really well. I think he only really almost killed Darby Allin one time. And that's good for a Ricky Starks match.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was really impressed with Ricky. We've been hard on Ricky for his actual wrestling. Really high on the guy when it comes to his mic skills, his character work. Maybe not so much his commentary work that we've seen on Dark, which we didn't mention at all that he was on commentary again for Dark this week. But this was a good wrestling match by Ricky. If I were to ever be coaching or have anything to do with a wrestling school of any sorts, I think I would show this match in cell class. This is how you sell a specific injury, a specific spot for an entire match. Because I literally thought Ricky Starks had a legitimate lower back injury this whole match. Like, his selling was that good. And it's something that we haven't seen from him yet. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, if he's been holding back on us, I don't know why. Because it's like, he did amazing in this match.
Yeah. I thought so, too. Should we talk about this one spot here? The Darby springboard off the middle rope and gets speared in midair by Ricky Starks. What did you think about this spot and how it was performed?
This is a spot that I haven't really seen before. We've seen springboards into RKOs and springboards into super kicks and, all these different kind of combinations. But the one I don't think I've ever seen is like a springboard. I'm assuming Darby's going for like a tornado DDT off the springboard or something like that. But Starks is there, catches him. Really powerful spear, like a great takedown, worthy of World Cup of Rugby. I think it was a wrap and tackle. If I've ever seen one, like the best display of a tackle. So it was really good and it looked devastating. I'm assuming this is the spot where you're like, he only killed Darby once this time because
right.
But Darby's great for just letting his body take the worst of it, which I mean, it probably isn't the smartest thing, but he's young and he's trying to get something over, and he just lets his body take the brunt of the force. And
it's totally NHL 2016.
2014, you mean?
14? Yeah, 14. Yeah.
2016 sucked. No, but yeah, like the hitting animations in that game, people were just ragdolling, right? And that's exactly what Darby does on this spot. And Makes it look amazing.
There was a couple of teases at the coffin drop, and we finally get it at the end here, and it worked out a little bit different than it usually does.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that Ricky was kind of on his belly, and I'm like, man, the coffin drop's already a pretty dangerous move for Darby himself, but Ricky's going to put himself in a vulnerable position being on his belly, and he's not going to be able to brace that impact. You know, you see the guys, they kind of cradle their bodies, they'll bring their legs up and try to cushion the fall a little bit. Couldn't really do that in the way he was laid out, but again, just makes the move go from here to here, like in a matter of seconds, and it looked painful.
And keeps him strong, painful. Right? Because he was selling that injury for the entire time. So you take a coffin drop to the back, it's very likely you're not going to kick out.
Yeah, for sure. And rightfully so, Darby Allin gets the 1, 2, 3 here. I gotta give props to Taz during this match. You know, his commentary. This is his boy, Absolute Ricky Starks. He's not shy in saying that Ricky kind of goes on his own sometimes, doesn't always listen to me, but you know, he's still getting the job done. Like he still puts him over while, you know, trying to, I don't know. I just thought Taz's commentary was very objective instead of subjective when calling a match of a member of Team Taz, where, you know, a lot of times when you get guest commentators and they're commentating on their, you know, their pride and joy a little bit, they get a little too cheerleader-ish. And Taz didn't do that. So I got to give props to Taz on commentary during this. It was really well.
Yeah, he's really embracing that role as the kind of coach or trainer kind of thing. Yeah.
For sure. Great match. Like I said, it drew the highest numbers of the night for AEW, almost peaking at 1.1 million. I think they were like 1,082,000 or something like that. So really well done for AEW, for two young guys, homegrown guys. You know, a lot of the AEW naysayers like to say that we're building our company on the backs of ex-WWE guys. Well, these are two pretty much homegrown guys, two guys from the indies anyways, who AEW are giving them a chance to show the world what they can do, and they showed 1 million people what they can do, and it was amazing.
Yeah, they pulled it off.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the next segment of the show. This was an in-ring interview with Cody and Dasha. Dasha conducting the interview. We got to see that epic Cody entrance. Caught it.
That was close.
We got to see that epic Cody entrance before the commercial break, and we come back from commercial break, and you know, Dasha asks the questions, you know, like what's happening with Brody Lee, and we get one of those Cody promos that we haven't seen since before he was TNT champion. Like, I haven't seen this promo from Cody, God, since before Full Gear, I feel like. And he was so good.
Yeah, it was intense. It was intense.
Those early days of Dynamite. So, yeah, what'd you think?
I rarely have a bad thing to say about Cody. I have to say, at the beginning of the show, I'm always looking to see if that ramp is there now. If we're gonna get the entrance, and the ramp wasn't there, so I didn't know if we were gonna see Cody or not. But the prelude hits, all good, and yeah, this was an intense promo. He definitely means business with his new hair and even just the suits that he's wearing. You had commented on his shoes there, and yeah, he's definitely got a different attitude here. And then he throws us a bit of a wrench,
a little swerve.
Yeah, so Dasha says, you know, like, do you accept Brody's challenge, and he turns it down. He says no.
Yeah.
And walks away. And I think both of us kind of sat back in our chairs and went, okay, this is unexpected.
Yeah. I didn't really expect it to go that way. But he stopped. He paused at the top of the ramp, and I'm like, oh, no doesn't mean no in this instance. Sure enough, he comes back into the ring. He like tears the microphone out of Dash's hand. And I mean, this is the Cody that we grew to love at like a year ago. You know, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the segment here, we are the day of recording this podcast, October 2nd. We are 1 year from the inaugural episode of AEW Dynamite. You know, and I haven't seen this Cody since, you know, those early days of Dynamite, and it was great to see him back. But he grabs that mic and no, as in no regrets, and fuck, the goosebumps just got growing. I think I might have sat back in my chair a little bit and you know, got a little bit fired up, man. Cody just always gets me fired up. And,
doing the Ric Flair, you're just
I was just
getting the
but no, it was great. It was great to see Cody back like this, and I like what you mentioned about just this whole look. Like before, he was wearing the bright, you know, baby blues and silver and gray suits. Now he's got these black suits, this dark purple. His shoes are all blinged out with I don't know, sequins. I don't know what they're called, but shoes are sparkly, and yeah, I'm liking this new Cody.
Yeah, because I think, at least for me, the blonde Cody with the white jackets and whatnot, he seemed very much like the corporate figure of AEW, and now EVP. he seems more like he's one of the guys. I want to see heel Cody.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. So, you know, Cody very passionately, I accept. And pretty much on cue, out comes the Dark Order. JR, I love how JR is like, oh, there's no Brody Lee. Dark Order's out here, but no, Brody Lee's nowhere to be found. And then like a fucking freight train coming through a tunnel, out comes Brody Lee, pushes Evil Uno out of the way, jumps right in the ring, and all hell breaks loose. What did you think of this pull apart? You know, we don't get too many pull aparts in AEW. If we had a pull apart to episode ratio between AEW and the Vanilla brand, I think the Vanilla brand's about 6 pull aparts an episode, where where AEW we get one about every 6 months. So I mean, what did you think of this pull apart?
Yeah, I mean, every Brock Lesnar feud had a pull apart.
Exactly. Every episode leading up
and we
to
know
the
that their feuds only go about a couple of weeks long, so that says it all right there. I thought this was a good pull apart. The mix of people that they had, I like that it wasn't like main roster guys. I like that it was like the Brian Pillmans and the Griff Garrisons that were out there, and Dark Order, and I mean, we got 3 rounds of this, if not 4. So we get Brandy coming out at one point.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where this was going. Did you?
I saw, you know what? To be honest, I saw Brandy coming out, and I was just like, what the hell is she going to do? You know, big mess of big dudes in a dog pile. But a few of the Dark Order kind of strayed off from the pack, and they were outside of the ring. I look away. I come back. Something catches my eye. She's over the top rope taking everybody out. I was like, holy shit. Like, I had to go back and watch it a second time. I never would have thought. I know Brandy likes to take bumps. We've seen her go through tables during Cody's matches and stuff like that. But for her to hurl herself over the ropes to take out a bunch of the Dark Order, that was big. But this leads into Anna Jay getting involved. They get in a big a scuffle. Out come all the girls over the ring. We got Kylan King and Danny Jordan.
Red Velvet was in there.
Red Velvet, Rashay Chanel. They're pulling apart Anna Jay and Brandy Rhodes. But then
Nyla Rose jumps
Nyla Rose
barricade.
jumps and takes out Kylan King, and I can't help but think that this is a push for Kylan King. Maybe she's gonna get a main roster, for lack of a better term, a Dynamite feud with the Native Beast. I think this is awesome for Kylan King.
I hope so. I think she's been doing an excellent job through the pandemic. I don't know. I feel like you can see when somebody is really, really trying, and I feel like she really, really tries. Solid wrestler, and she's a bigger gal, which I think we need. There's too many smaller girls. We need somebody that Nyla Rose can go up and be realistic against, I think.
Yeah. We're missing that with Chris Statlander out. She was the other big girl, Shanna. We're missing
Christy
them.
Janes.
Yeah, we're missing all of them. So I think Kylan King fits in perfectly here. I hope this is a Dynamite feud. It's not just on Dark kind of thing.
Right.
But like you said, we get 3 or 4 rounds of this. There's kind of somewhat of a clean break. Brody Lee gets up the stage and no, I'm not done yet, and he runs back in. By the end, I was like, okay, let's get to commercial break already. But I mean, it was still very, very entertaining right to the end. One of the better pull aparts I've ever seen.
Yeah, and at the end here, was Cody selling, or did he get punched in the mouth by accident? Or I felt like he wasn't selling. Is he legitimately maybe got popped and wasn't expecting it? And
maybe who knows?
I don't know.
All that. There's fists flying everywhere.
Yeah,
people are trying
insanity.
to, they're trying to hold people back, and you kind of push through, and maybe you catch a guy in the chin or something like that. Before we leave this segment, I do want to say I have solved the mystery of who the third guy was in the Wardlow promo All Out 2019. It wasn't Griff Garrison.
I haven't been sleeping at night because of this.
So we had Alan Angels confirmed. We had Lee Johnson confirmed, but then we had the Griff Garrison imposter. Now, I've been watching a lot of Among Us. I'm pretty good at sussing out imposters. The third guy was not Griff Garrison, but it's the security guard that hangs out ringside. He also has long blonde curly hair. He was in the ring during this pull apart. Him and Griff Garrison took a picture together on socials, and I'm like, that's him. That's the guy.
Is this the guy that comes out with Private Party?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that was him.
Wow.
In the war.
I am going to have a good sleep tonight, I think.
All right. Everybody can sleep well tonight. Let's move on with the show. I totally had slides for all this pull apart, and I missed it. I'm getting used to this slideshow business. Bear with us, people. All right. Moving on to the next segment of the show. We had a backstage interview with Tony Schiavone with FTR and Tully Blanchard. Setting up, we're getting ready for this match, SCU versus FTR. Pretty standard promo of what FTR was talking about here. They kind of just recapped us what happened last week. They offered Best Friends a chance at a brush of greatness for 20 minutes, but they decided they would do them a favor since they finished this big war, the parking lot brawl with Proud and Powerful. They weren't ready for the brush of greatness, so they retracted the offer, and they went about their business kind of thing. As much as FTR is absolutely boring on their microphone, this was still a pretty entertaining segment because of what happens to Tony. You want to talk about this for a little while?
Yeah. So Tony being Tony, getting right down to business, just like he's been doing with the Young Bucks. He brings up the Young Bucks to FTR, and FTR basically says that the Young Bucks don't deserve a shot. We're not going to wrestle them and whatnot. And then out of nowhere, we get the super kick and Tony takes a bump. So we thought we might have saw this last week. We got the whole phone bit.
Yeah.
Now he takes it, and
Young Bucks.
It looks good. Is there two legs there?
There's two legs.
Okay, I thought it was just Matt.
But see, this is what I want to bring up is where's Nick in all this? Because Matt did the whole, oh, Nick, it's just Tony, no big deal, last week. And then we see kind of the behind the scenes thing on being the elite. And again, he's pointing to someone off camera referring to Nick. After this super kick, Matt does his, hey, Nick, wait up. But we never see Nick. So where's Nick in all this? I'm just assuming that he's at home. He's got a newborn.
He's a new father, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure he's just taking care of business. There seems to be a little bit of an outbreak of possible COVID. So maybe he's just protecting himself a little bit. But that begs the question is whose leg is that? And I swear to God, I've seen those purple pants before on Sammy Guevara. Who else would wear Jordan 1s?
Pink shoes, yeah.
Maybe it's Kip, maybe, but I mean, the mystery. It's another.
You're turning into quite the sleuth here.
Man, Among Us is such a great game. Anyways, so yeah, we get to see Tony take a bump. I never thought, in all the years of watching WCW, it was like Tony never took a bump. He would always kind of get, pushed aside or something like that, but he never got kicked. He never got punched. Even Kevin Nash never really pushed him. He would always push Bobby the Brain or somebody like that, right? So it's just amazing. I never thought I'd ever see Tony take a bump like that. I liked how they teased it last week. This was a great segment, all because of this. It had nothing to do with FTR.
Yeah.
Just before we cut to commercial break, though, we get another backstage interview with Dasha Gonzalez again. She's interviewing Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. They're getting ready for their brush with greatness. And again, this is just another, I don't know, piece of evidence for, I'm totally a detective now. I don't know why I'm saying these words. But Scorpio Sky just ruining this character that he built over the last couple weeks. And he's back to this, like I said, blue chipper babyface. And I mean, I would love to say there's no turning back, but I mean, he seems to flip flop like Big Show. So,
well, now that you're kind of bringing it up again, we didn't talk about the segment in BT with Christopher Daniels, right, almost contemplating retirement. I felt, right, if that's kind of got in the heads of Scorpio Sky and Kazarian, where's Kazarian left if he doesn't have a partner here? I doubt he's going to go on some kind of singles run. So could this be Scorpio saying, hey, like, I'm committed to SCU and I wanted to continue on. So if Christopher Daniels is going to step aside, then you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it could be that. It might not be him really trying to sabotage his own character, just maybe trying to help with Kazarian for however much longer he has.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I never thought of that. But like I said, we get this babyface promo from Scorpio saying, we kind of went our different ways for a little while, but it's time to see if we still have what it takes. We are the first AEW Tag Team Champions. He's gassing Frankie up. And I just like how Frankie just sits there and he's just like nodding along. He's just agreeing. Doesn't say anything. He had nothing to do with this promo. Yeah, I liked everything about this. As they leave the promo, we think we're going to... I think while we were watching, I was even ready to I see you. And then it never came. I was like, oh shit, I feel like a dumbass now. But just before they come through the tunnel, they run into Shawn Spears, of all people. Now, we saw, I believe it was on Dark, Shawn Spears have a match on Dark. No, it was Tuesday Night Dynamite. The Tuesday episode of Dynamite that Scorpio Sky and Shawn Spears had a little bit of an issue when Shawn Spears did some extracurricular activity on Matt Sydal, his good buddy. Scorpio Sky's good buddy, that is. So, I mean, it makes sense why Shawn Spears is there, but just the way he was leaning up against the pole and then he's just like, good luck tonight. I mean, the thoughts come back like, okay, is this the moment? Is this the tease? Are we going to see this 4 Horsemen style? Like, is Shawn Spears going to join FTR some point during this match?
Right. Is he one of these?
Is he
one of these things?
Whichever way it goes.
Hand signal they do for those of you listening audio only. I'm doing I think I was even doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, this hand thing they do, like what does that mean? We're thinking Shawn Spears is this one, right? The guy who's not with a partner?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. This little piggy goes to market. Is that kind of hand signal?
So, I mean, at this point, like I'm fully expecting Shawn Spears to get involved with this matchup. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that. Well, let's get right into this matchup. It's a brush with greatness, a 20-minute time limit and to me, last week during the promo, the FTR promo, these brush with greatnesses weren't tag team title matches. To me, if you survived the 20-minute brush with greatness, then you were offered a tag team title match. But they were calling this a tag team title match right from the start, which I don't know if that was a mistake. Did someone forget what was going on, or did I just totally misunderstand what the promo meant last week? I was really confused of why this was being called a tag team championship match.
Right. I understood it the same way you did. So maybe it was commentary. Maybe it was it Cash who was talking about it? Maybe he kind of misspoke on what it was about. But the way I understood it was this was a championship match.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure what's his name said it at the beginning.
Yeah, I think everybody said it at some point. Scorpio Sky mentioned it in the promo. JR and Excalibur were calling it a championship match. I don't get it. I don't know.
What did you think of this match?
I mean, it was decent. I like that FTR is keeping up this. I'm using air quotes here, but follow the rules. You know, they're constantly breaking the rules. They're playing the heel tag team perfectly. They're using Tully Blanchard to their advantage. He's getting involved, which I like. When he was, I mean, he's still managing Shawn Spears, but when he manages Shawn Spears, besides putting, you know, the slug in his glove for him or handing it off, he really has nothing to do with Shawn Spears' matches. You know, we haven't seen him as part of the matches since All Out 2019, where he gets involved in, you know, the whole Arn Anderson thing. If you guys want to hear our thoughts on that, we do have a 2019 reaction show from a few weeks ago. But I like that he gets involved with these guys' matches. It makes sense. Why have a manager out there if he's just going to stand there and look old? I don't know.
Right. and it really, like, really what they're trying to push is that old school wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
And to me, old school wrestling is that manager, valet, whatever you want to call it, is part of the match. You know, Jimmy Hart, like those guys, they were always involved. So yeah, I think it's cool.
Those bimbos that used to come out to the ring with Nature Boy, they would hand him the brass knucks or something like.
Right.
Like those had to have been local models or something.
That's what they need to bring back.
Brass knucks?
No, the girls.
Oh, the bimbos. We should mention that Hangman Page was out here on commentary during this match.
He was hammered.
He was hammied hard. He was choking the whiskey
Every
down.
time they showed him, his glass was full. Like, so during the shot, he's chugging it, and then the next shot, it's full again.
Yeah, he was a hoot.
Yeah, I feel like this almost took away from the match, but in a good way, because I wasn't really into this match.
Okay.
Myself. Not that it was bad. I don't know. I just didn't get into this match. But
well, at least you had that entertainment coming out of Hangman, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we get an announcement after this. AEW is gonna be holding an 8-man tournament that is gonna culminate. I can't say that word. It's gonna end. The finals are gonna be at Full Gear. Is what's gonna happen. 8-man tournament throughout the next few weeks, leading into the finals being at Full Gear. The winner getting a shot at the AEW championship at a later date. So big news. And they announced that they got three competitors that they can announce right now, and Hangman's just playing his part. He's like, yeah, let's hear it. Let's see who's getting in on it. And we get Jungle Boy, Ray Phoenix, and Kenny Omega. And as soon as Excalibur says Kenny Omega, Hangman's mood changes.
He's a bit choked.
He's a bit choked.
Yeah, I thought it was perfectly played by Hangman here, because for the entire match on commentary, he's being a bit goofy. You know, he's hammered, right? So
Playing
drinking very
crowd.
heavily. Yeah. And then he got super serious after this. And I can't remember what he says, but I got the impression that it's like he needs to be in this tournament.
For sure. I mean, it would be a huge missed opportunity. And I'm going to say, if the finals go the way I think they should go, if they don't go the way that I think they should go, like AEW is going to lose on at least 100,000 pay-per-view buys. Like Hangman and Omega in the finals of this tournament will put, I mean, proverbial butts in the seats. This is going to sell a pay-per-view.
Yeah. And I'm going to give you props on this, because I don't even think the part of Omega was even finished, and you're already like, I already know what's going to happen.
I'm calling it right now. If it's not Hangman and Omega in the finals of this tournament, it's going to be a huge disappointment.
We're asking for our money back. I'm going to
take that back real quick. The only way that I'm not mad if that's not the final is if Omega interrupts in Hangman's semifinal match and causes him to lose. And then, that'll be cool.
Okay.
Too.
Even just like comes to the ramp or something like that.
Distracts him or something like that. He gets rolled up, small package. You know what I mean? Like, that would be great. That would be great. Anyways, so big news. We have an 8-man, I almost said tag team, an 8-man tournament to determine a new number one contender for a later date. Again, power rankings don't mean shit in AEW. Let's move on to the next segment of the night.
And they also announced that Full Gear was November 7th. That's coming up soon.
Yeah, for sure. We're like 4 or 5 weeks out from there, so it's gonna come up quick. Next matchup of the night, we're gonna have Le Champion, Chris Jericho versus Isaiah Cassidy. This is a match that got put together last week. Isaiah Cassidy, the young upstart talent, tag team specialist, if you will, gonna take on Chris Jericho, and I mean, he not the greatest on the microphone, but he did a pretty good job of issuing the challenge. Chris Jericho had to accept, and here we are. This match was surprisingly good for Isaiah Cassidy's limitations, if you will.
Yeah, I didn't think it had the best start, but once we got to like the middle latter part of the match, and it was the Isaiah show. He had all of the spots. At one point, I think he did all of Chris Jericho's moves in a matter of like 2 minutes. All of his finishers all at once. He did the lion salt, he did the code breaker, and all that. So the last part of this match was
Did I watch this match, or I don't remember that at all.
Did you secretly have the sticks underneath the table?
I might have been doing ollies and kickflips. I don't know. No, I don't. I honestly don't remember that. I might have been checking an email or something like right at that moment. But that's really cool. I love when people steal moves.
Yeah.
There were a couple times that maybe the inexperience showed on Isaiah Cassidy. There was a couple times where Jericho had to actually like pull him down on top of him to, you're supposed to be covering me right now, kind of thing. So there was a couple of moments where Jericho's never been good at hiding, calls. Bret Hart called him out on that like many, many years ago. It doesn't really matter. We all know it's a show, but it's kind of funny when you actually do catch it. And there was a lot of instances in that, but it didn't really take away from this match. Like you said, it was the Isaiah Cassidy show. He was out there to show what he can do, and Jericho let him.
I mean, if I had to give Isaiah Cassidy criticism, and we'll even say private party together to criticize him, like I'm anybody in the wrestling world, but
right.
I feel like they think too much about what they're doing. Like they want to do it totally perfect, and you can see it on their faces when they're in the ring. It's like they're going over the checklist of this is what I have to do next, and this is what I have to do next, and maybe they get a bit rattled when they don't know what they're supposed to do next.
Right.
I feel like as well, probably Cassidy more than Quen is the fitness. I feel like the fitness is not there. I feel like he really gassed out after all of these spots towards the end. Like he was done.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish these boys would work out. I think they could be that much better if they just got in the gym and worked out.
Yeah, no, those are all really good points. You do really see that it's like playing music. They're playing it bar for bar, note for note, where, Chris Jericho's kind of just jamming it. And that's what wrestling.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
It should just be a jam sesh. Everybody's just kind of in there. Everybody's just feeding off each other. That's what a wrestling match should be. But these guys have the music all written out, and they're playing it bar for bar, and it shows. Just like in music, like you can hear when it's affected in a way,
or done a bit robotically.
Yeah, for sure. Hashtag John Petrucci. Anyways, I am all over the place
we have a major spot in here, which you alluded to earlier in the show, so we should give that a bit of a mention. Chris Jericho's on the outside of the ring at one point early on in the match. I think he actually might even have flipped over the barrier, and he gets into it with Luther, and they have a little bit of a punching match going on here. What did you think about this part, and where do you think it goes, or doesn't even mean anything?
It was interesting because, yeah, like you mentioned, Chris Jericho goes over the top rope and he kind of falls into the cage, bumps into Luther. Jericho turns around. You don't really get to hear what he says, but I mean, he makes a gesture, but Luther doesn't waste any time, comes right back at him. Now, we don't get to see what's happening in the ring. I'm assuming Isaiah Cassidy is distracting the ref at this point because, I mean, that's clear disqualification. Like, he fully connects with Jericho. They have a little bit of a Donnybrook, a little bit of a Tilly, and, and then it gets broken apart. But shortly after the match ends, they get back into it, and Luther and Serpentico basically chase Inner Circle out of the ring because I believe they go on the offensive after on Cassidy after the match. So they kind of just come in to even the odds a little bit. This leads to a match made for next week, the big 30th anniversary celebration show for Le Champion Chris Jericho. It's going to be the new tag team of Jericho and Hager versus Chaos Project. I think this is a huge nudge. I think is how I put it before. I'm not going to say it's a push for Chaos Project, but I mean they're going to get a match on Dynamite. It's up against Chris Jericho. This is going to be the first time since 1991, according to Chris Jericho himself, that Jericho and Luther are going to be locking up. These guys are lifelong friends. They got started into the business together. And yeah, we're finally going to see this match that's 30 years in the making. I think it'll be great. I think it's a one-off. I don't think this is going to be a feud that's going to go on for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it'll be a big, kind of awesome spectacle one-off for this special 30th anniversary for Jericho. I'm looking forward to it next week.
I totally agree with you. I feel like this is all Chris Jericho's idea. Being that it is the celebration of 30 years of Chris Jericho, why not have a match with someone that you started your journey in this business with and kind of giving a nod to the roots of where he started. I think it's totally Canadian of Chris Jericho to do something like that. And I'm pretty sure that Luther knows his place in the wrestling world and knows he's probably never going to be AEW champ, and that's not why he's here. But I'm expecting that we're going to get a really good match if that happens next week, and really looking forward to it.
I was on Twitter while we were watching. I kind of had it opened. Every once in a while it would update. And I mean, I love how people just full kayfabe wrestling still and how real it is to them. I understand what the business is and I give it the benefit of the doubt when it needs to be given. But I mean, I'm not buying into, like, I'm like, oh. So what I'm alluding to is like some of these tweets, like people are like, how could Luther do that to Chris Jericho? He brought him into this company and why would he ever do that? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's just good business right there. Like, so it makes me giggle that this is still so real for so many people, but good on you for being entertained for it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to put this with not kind of offending anybody, but I feel like for some people they approach their life this way because it's more interesting that way. I think sometimes, right? Yeah. When you're, and I'll admit it, I'm that kind of person who's maybe more of a realist, if that's the right word to use, and life doesn't really shock me a lot of the times because I have an expectation of how things are going to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And in the world of wrestling, we know it's entertainment. It's not real. But if somebody can sit there and believe that it is real, then they probably get more out of it than we actually do.
For sure. 100%. I wish I could watch wrestling with the eyes of the 8-year-old me, when I used to watch Junkyard Dog and Coco Beware. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could watch wrestling like that still. Because, yeah, it was way more fun. So, yeah.
When wrestling was real.
Yeah, when wrestling was real. All right.
It's like Santa Claus.
Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and Fairy. All right, let's move on to the next segment of the show. We had this little pre-taped thing where we're getting more backstory between Kip and Miro here. You know, they're hanging out. Kip Sabian's got some concerns about his bachelor party. He wants his bachelor party to be the best party of his life. And Miro all he can do is reassure that, I got you, brother. Like, this is going to be the best bachelor party ever. It's going to be like Rumspringer, you know, where the Amish kids leave the colony and go drink and put their livers to the test and stuff like that. And it kind of fast forwards. All of a sudden, they're at like some kind of arcade. They're throwing axes. Miro was playing like digital dodgeball or virtual dodgeball,
which looks super cool.
Yeah, I want to play that for sure. But kind of the interesting spot here is that they're sitting there at a Pac-Man machine, and Kip's like, I gotta go take a piss. I gotta go rock a piss. I'll be right back. And Miro kind of shakes his head. He's like, man, what's this guy so worried about? And then a pretty familiar face to me if you've ever watched some documentaries on Netflix. But Billy Mitchell, controversial world record holder of many Atari games. I think claims he's the world record holder for Pac-Man, claims he's the world record holder for Donkey Kong. They're all in dispute because of cheats and falsified, evidence, whatever. That's not what this podcast is about, but controversial face comes on the screen and he says, I'll help you throw this bachelor party. Where is this going? Is all I can say.
Did it not seem to you like Miro was acting like he doesn't have a plan for this?
I think that's exactly what it is.
So, yeah.
So you
I did not know who this guy was. You recognized him, I didn't.
Yeah. I watched the Netflix documentary.
I mean, I would have been good with the whole, maybe they're in some kind of Warzone tournament or something like that, because that would be entertaining. I mean, Miro telling him to get off the water tower and all that, like, that would just be hilarious. I don't know. I don't know where this is going. Do you have any ideas?
You mentioned something last week. I forget what situation they were in, but I mean, they were sitting there talking about the bachelor party. And you brought up the words, "This is your life," referring to Mick Foley throwing the "This is your life" thing for The Rock on Raw. Like, is this what this is going to end up being, kind of thing? Like, obviously not "This is your life," but, it's going to be an in-ring kind of spectacle. It's going to be kind of lame and cheesy, but it'll be super entertaining because of everybody involved, kind of thing. And yeah, I kind of feel like this is where this is headed, because Miro has absolutely no idea what's going on. And I would love if the punchline to everything is that, like, Kip Sabian brings Miro in as his best man, but then Miro's like, dude, we just met like 3 weeks ago. I don't even know.
How am I supposed to know? Yeah.
You know what I mean? We played Warzone like 3-4 times. I don't know what you're talking about. I just think that would be the funniest kind of punchline to this thing. And then maybe we can get into some serious Miro breaking bodies. Let's make up for that shit match we saw last week, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I'm not backing out on this storyline yet, but it's not looking good. I mean, maybe they'll surprise us, but yeah, I don't know. It's up in the air for me.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be, I can't remember exactly. I remember me making that comment. There was something specific that was said that made me think that. I can't remember what it was, but
right.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Hopefully it's good.
Let's move on. Next matchup of the night, we had Orange Cassidy going up against 10 of the Dark Order. I mean, this match makes sense. Orange Cassidy had a match against the Exalted One. I guess he's working reverse order down the list of Dark Order members, but I'm sure this is leading somewhere. But pretty solid match between Orange Cassidy and 10. I enjoyed this one. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it wasn't shitty by any means. It was a solid, entertaining singles match. 10 got to show off what he can do, something we haven't seen in a while. He had to sell that shoulder injury for however long. So I was excited for this match. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and we had a little bit of outside entertainment, Dark Order, sure, doing the best friend hugging thing. I didn't think that this match needed that. Orange Cassidy is a really good competitor, really good athlete, and 10 is just a beast and can wrestle. I didn't think it was needed. I thought that took away from it, but yeah, solid match here. No huge spots, but
we said the same thing about the match against Brody Lee. John Silver was doing the t-shirt gimmick and pretending like it was like cooties or whatever you want to say. And it was just like, why are we doing BTE Dark Order on Dynamite? And this was much of the same. But you kind of block all that out and focus on what's going on in the ring, and you're going to see a really solid competitive match where 10 gets to show, like I said, he gets to show off what the guy can do. Like you said, he's a beast. Throws around Orange Cassidy quite well. But Cassidy, as always, he digs deep and he's got the heart and finishes him off with an orange punch, which leads into probably one of the deadliest finishers. I don't think I've ever seen Orange Cassidy do this before. It's very similar to what Trent and Chucky do as a tandem, but it's just a little bit smoother and a little bit more fluent, and it just makes the move look so much better. Did they even have a name for this one?
Yeah, they called it the Beach Breaker.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I think this also has a lot to do with 10. Doing the move properly, getting his head in the right place, because he needs to kind of stick to Orange Cassidy's side so his head doesn't get kind of crushed on his back. And yeah, I thought it looked really, really cool. Even the couple of angles that they showed of it, like it looked really awesome.
Yeah. I could see where some issues might come into place if someone the person taking the move can't really grab a hold of Orange's sides quick enough or something like that. It might look a little fumbly, but I mean, first impressions are everything. And I mean, it's locked in quick and Cassidy just drops it down. 1, 2, 3. It looked great. I loved it.
Very cool.
Yeah. Let's keep the show rolling. We get a I almost said very entertaining, but it was very awkwardly entertaining. Backstage segment. It starts off with MJF. He's outside of Chris Jericho's locker room, and he kind of having words with the cameraman and doing MJF stuff, but he knocks on the door. Jericho lets him in, and we just get some MJF kind of classic MJF in this segment. What'd you think of all this?
Yeah, I think the fumbly part was the jackets?
Yeah, like it was
where he's like trying to read the names and he can barely get them out of the box.
Like he's never held a jacket in his hands before. He didn't know how to like straighten it out. I've never picked up a jacket and done like a full 360 trying to find the top. Like that's never happened.
Right. Did he seem nervous to you? Or was he trying to play off like he was nervous? He fumbled a few times in this, which MJF doesn't usually fumble.
Right. I never really thought about it. But now that you say that, yeah, something did seem kind of off. I don't think I can call it nerves. I think he was just rushing. He was just trying too hard.
Yeah.
Maybe he was rushing because we noticed later in the night that the show started to feel rushed. You know, maybe when
It was about the next segment. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one of the segments ran a little bit long. So when they were going into it, they're like, "Hey, you got to get through this really quick," kind of thing. So maybe he was a little bit.
It was
rushed.
probably the 5 pull aparts.
Probably fucking Cody taking up all the time. No, it was
but what we get out of this is the gift that MJF brings is these embroidered jackets,
Inner Circle bomber jackets of some sort.
Yeah, it looked like it had the big Inner Circle emblem on the back, and he's handing them out to everybody, pulling them out one at a time, and the box is empty, and no jacket for Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
What did you think about this part?
I like this, and I think I mentioned it while we were watching. I'm like, is this where we're going? Is this the MJF replaces? Again, I'm using quotes for people listening on audio, but MJF replaces Sammy. Sammy gets a little scorn. Like, I can't believe Jericho's letting this jabroni into our group. We were the sex gods, and you know, then that leads to some infighting, which I think I called a while ago with Inner Circle. I think Sammy's ready to branch out on his own away from Inner Circle. I think he could do so much more without them. So is this the avenue they take? I don't know, but I like what it's looking like.
Because we haven't seen Sammy and Jericho, right? And I bet you this is a match Jericho wants to do.
I bet.
So yeah, I think you're right here. I think it's going to be, you know, maybe MJF is brought in at the end of the segment. Sammy's like, you know, this guy is a loser. And Jericho cuts him off and says, you know, perhaps he's not. He brings in MJF. Sammy's jealous.
Mm-hmm.
The feud begins, and we get a Sammy Jericho
Possibly.
at some point.
I would love to see the spot where MJF starts coming out with Inner Circle, coming out to Judas with everybody. And then Sammy takes his spot on Jericho's right, just like he always does. But then he pushes him away or something, and then brings MJF in and gets MJF to stand beside him. Like
right.
I think that would be an entertaining spot. I think Sammy could sell that really. It would be entertaining. But yeah, like going back to the jackets, just a criticism. Like, we can't see the names on TV. He didn't need to sit there and fumble. He could have just played it off, kind of held it up. Oh, yeah, this one's for Hager. There you go, big guy. Yeah, he called Ortiz a big guy. Ortiz is the smallest one next to Sammy, and didn't understand that. But, you know, he literally could have just pulled one out and started throwing them to people. And then, yeah, there's not one for Sammy. It would have worked just as well. But
yeah, I agree. For sure.
I like where this is going. I want to see where this heads. And I like how Jericho.
Look at this picture. Look at the 24-inch pythons on Jericho there. That's insane.
30 years, man.
Was he flexing during that screenshot?
He was sipping his bubbly. He was just tight the whole time.
Doing one of those, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup of the night. We were getting the return of Dr. Britt Baker. I mean, we saw her at All Out. It was kind of a shoddy return. I feel like this is true. This is a true return to Dr. Britt Baker. We get to see her in action, and we get to see the talents that she has. And she's going up against Red Velvet here. A great jobber, for lack of a better term, but she's been working her ass off on Dark, jobbing out to all the bigger names. Red Velvet's been killing it. This was an awesome match for for Britt Baker's return. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have to apologize here. I don't really have any comments on the match. I don't know, for some reason I was just out of it with this one. And I think it was right at the beginning you had made a comment that, wow, like Britt Baker looks bigger. I felt like I spent the entire match trying to determine whether I thought she was actually bigger. And then commentary actually even says it a little while later that she's bigger. And I'm like, I had a hard time seeing it. I didn't know if Red Velvet was just a smaller competitor or not, but maybe you have more insight into this match than I do.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I spent the whole time watching Britt Baker trying to decipher if she was bigger or not as well. Because like you said, I made the comment. I think my exact words is like, is Britt jacked right now, or is Red Velvet that small? Because I've been watching Red Velvet go up against Anna Jay and Brandy, and and like, these aren't gigantic women by any means, muscular wise or anything like that. They're very, very fit women and they look great and all that stuff. But Britt Baker absolutely dwarfed Red Velvet. Like, it looked like Billy Gunn standing next to X-Pac. If I could put that in, like, it was a massive difference. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
like, she looked amazing. She looked jacked AF. And I don't know what the hell could have happened in the 3 weeks since All Out, or the 4 weeks, I should say, but Jesus Christ. I'd be scared to see what Adam Cole looks like beside her.
It was the wheelchair. Like, did she use the wheelchair everywhere?
Yeah, she was selling the wheelchair. Just got that upper
so her
body.
Arms are
jacked. I mean, she looked great.
She did look different. She did look different for me. And yeah, I mean, I can't say there was a lot of spots here to really talk about. No botches.
Definitely not. It's very clean.
Which I have to say, in the past, we usually comment on, one or two botches in a Brit match. This was a solid one. And feel like this one's all about the ending. The after the match part. What'd you think about the ending here?
I don't even know what you're talking about, because I felt like this was just pretty standard for Britt. After the bell, after the 1, 2, 3, there's a little bit of extracurricular activity. She puts Red Velvet in the lockjaw. Reba comes out with the glove. I was kind of expecting something to happen more, I guess.
Yeah, I think you said you thought she was going to do the rope thing.
The rope?
Oh, I thought when we were watching it, you said it, put her on the ropes, do the curb stomp.
Yeah, a while back, she did that to Yuka Sakazaki. She made her bite the bottom rope and then kicked her on the back of the head, and then Yuka was out. She was missing teeth and stuff, and they sold that gimmick. Like, I thought they were going to bring that back, but no, Reba comes in with the glove, and the lockjaw's performed after the match. I mean, I guess it's still solidifying Britt as the heel. I don't follow anybody's rules but my own kind of thing. But I was expecting more. I was expecting someone to come out and maybe challenge Britt. You know what I mean? Like, Big Swole won that match at All Out, but Britt's the one getting the spotlight right now. So I feel like that maybe we'll get another Swole feud. I don't know. I was expecting a challenge and we just never got anything. It was just awkward.
Yeah, maybe this is a good time to really talk about the women's division. I feel like it's just stalled, or
we're missing those Japanese girls. I honestly think.
Yeah.
The women's division was just centered on Riho, Yuka, Emi, Sakura, you know what I mean? Like they were the ones really pushing the paces, working with Nyla, working with Statlander, working with Shauna. I said that weird, Shanna. You know what I mean? I think we're just missing all the wrestlers.
Do you feel like we need to have more than one women's match on a Dynamite? Because I feel like we haven't seen Penelope in a while. I mean, she could have wrestled last week, but it feels like it's been a while. Nyla we only see every now and then, and yeah, she had a part this week, but she didn't have a match. We're not seeing stories progress. Really, all we've gotten in the last little while is Brandy and Anna Jay.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know about having multiple women's matches. I mean, it would certainly help if, time permitting and everything like that. I just think we need more. We need stories to go along with this, because the women's division has really been living on dark, and it's not even. They're not even telling stories. They're just really enhancement matches to put the people over who need to be over at this point. So I just think we need a really solid women's feud to go on Dynamite, so that we have something to go off of. We haven't even seen Hikaru Shida since. I mean, I guess we saw that tag team match last week with Rosa. Wasn't the greatest, but I don't know. I think this match just kind of soured everything, because it didn't really mean anything. We didn't get any progression. Sure, Britt's back and she's looking great, but I think someone coming out and challenging would have made all the difference. That it would have been a simple 3 seconds.
Or even she cuts a promo.
Something.
Right?
Promo would have been great.
And calls somebody out. Even that would have been better. But
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cody watches our show, so expect next week some story progression.
You betcha. Britt's getting on the mic next week. All right, let's move on. Just before we go to commercial break, we get another a reminder that next week, October 7th, on Dynamite, it will be the 30-year anniversary celebration of Le Champion, Chris Jericho. They have a Dynamite, no pun intended, but a Dynamite show lined up for Dynamite. That sounded weird. I regret saying that. We got the aforementioned Jericho and Hager versus Chaos Project being Luther and Serpentico. We got Brian Cage versus Will Hobbs. Brody Lee versus Cody for the TNT Championship in a dog collar match. Each competitor will be tied to one another with a dog collar around their neck. And they're not even doing a strap. It's not a rope. It's a freaking chain. It's going to be deadly. Can't wait for that match.
I can't even remember the last time I've seen a match like this.
I would say like JBL and Eddie Guerrero. They used to have those fucking bullwhip matches or whatever back in the early 2000s. That's about the last I can remember. As well, this should be Mox versus Archer for the AEW Championship, I think was also announced. So, yep. Huge show. I think as well, since Dynamite, they announced another match. I think FTR is going to be in action. I'm assuming against like Best Friends or something, but I can't remember for sure, so don't take my word on it. But I can pretty much guarantee that FTR is going to be in action next week too. So it's going to be a huge show next week. I can't wait. It's like pay-per-view worthy Dynamite next week. So make sure you're tuning in on TNT or TSN up here in Canada. Get those ratings up. As we come back from commercial, or just before we go to commercial, actually, we have Eddie Kingston come out with the Lucha Brothers. It cuts to commercial. Kingston's got Bryce Remsburg by the neck, and he's pretending to be all buddy-buddy with him. But when we come back from commercial, the promo king, as I'm going to call him, cuts a promo on poor little Bryce here and calls him out for calling the match a little too early on him last week in his AEW Championship match. What are your thoughts on where Kingston's character is going after his championship match last week?
I like that he's still keeping this going. The whole, I didn't get knocked out of the battle royal. Now he didn't tap out. He didn't say he quit. We've always commented on Remsburg trying to get himself over with the crowd, and here's your chance, bud. You're in the ring. He even cuts a little bit of a promo here. I thought the whole segment was done really well, and I'm going to give props to Remsburg. I thought he handled it correctly, and he's like, hey, I'm just doing my job, and you weren't able to protect yourself, so I called you on it.
Yeah. I hate Remsburg. I've hated him since day one. And I mean, I agree with you. This is how refs are supposed to act in these situations. You know what I mean? He didn't do anything to try to get himself over here. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. I called the match how you were unresponsive. What was I supposed to do? I had your safety in mind. We go way back, kind of thing. Maybe he did try to get himself over. He was going a little. Anyways, but I enjoyed what Bryce did here. I'll give him another chance, maybe, but I swear to God, if he has his back turned to something shady and then turns around and is like, "Hey, what's going on here?" Like, no, you didn't see it. You have nothing to react to. Stop it.
You know what? I think what would have made this segment bad. So we should mention here that Remsburg talks back to Kingston, and then Kingston's like, all right, if that's how you feel, let's go, boys. And he calls the Lucha Brothers to attack Remsburg. Now, if he would have took a bump here, then that's too much.
Right.
He didn't need to take a bump here. And they didn't do it. Right. So I think that was all good.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, this promo is all leading into it was announced, I think it was even earlier this week, that the main event for Dynamite was going to be Jon Moxley putting up the AEW Championship up against a competitor of Kingston's choosing. And I mean, he calls out Jon Moxley. Moxley comes out with the barbed wire bat, which was an awesome callback to Dean Ambrose, really. It was the lead up to the Ambrose Asylum match with Jericho, and Mick Foley gifts Cactus Jack's barbed wire bat to Ambrose. So I mean, I thought it was a cool little callback that Moxley's coming out with this barbed wire bat. Did I just call him Ambrose? I'm sorry, Moxley. I got confused in the vanilla swirl that I just talked about there. But I like that Moxley comes out with the barbed wire bat. Brings it in. The three of them scatter, and then Kingston, still on the mic, says, basically saying how what's going to happen and that he gets to choose who he's going to face, but it's not going to be Penta, it's not going to be Ray. And then Big Butcher kind of comes up from the shadows and he's standing behind him. And we get that really cool shot, and Moxley, the way he turns around, he kind of feels the presence behind him, and Kingston, Remsburg, ring that bell, brother. And they get right into it. I thought this whole lead up into this match is really great, and then we get a really solid, hard hitting match to close out the show. I really enjoyed this match. You mentioned that Butcher and the Blade were on Unrestricted this week, and we got to hear some of his Butcher's past and how he got into wrestling and stuff like that. This guy's only been in the ring for 5 years, and if you were to ask me how much experience this guy had, I would have gave him at least 10. He is way beyond his years. This was a great match.
Yeah, they're New York guys, and they talk about the New York wrestling scene, and a lot of the guys are actually bringing in here as jobbers. Puff, they mentioned, Is it Blackmore or Blackwood and Garcia? Those guys they're all New York boys. They're all brought in by the Butcher and the Blade, and it's go check out Unrestricted. It's a really good podcast with the Butcher and the Blade. I personally wasn't into this match, and I don't think it had anything to do with the actual match. I think I was just tired from the work day, and it's getting towards 9:00 here Central Time, and nothing bad. I thought it was the type of match that Jon Moxley likes to have, and that is aggressive, hard hitting, and the Butcher was the perfect person to use here.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're kind of introducing this, I'm like, I don't even know how I didn't even guess, being that Butcher and the Blade are not even out there with Kingston at the beginning of this promo. So it kind of had to be one of those guys, right?
Yeah, almost, yeah.
So it wasn't a bad match. These guys are not real big spot guys anyways, but yeah, a good way to end this show.
I've said in the past, and I don't know if I've said it on the show here. I might have said it really early on in some of those early pilot episodes that we put together, but the championship match is not supposed to be the flashy match. The championship match is supposed to be the wrestling match, and that's what this was. It was a wrestling match. Maybe wrestling matches aren't the most entertaining things in the world. They can get kind of stale and repetitive, chop here, punch there, bulldog here, the cliche kind of moves of the early 70s and 80s. But these two guys doing that style of wrestling, it just makes sense because they're both big. They're both strong. You just feel every shot that they take. It's not like when the Young Bucks chop Penta and Rey Fenix, you don't really feel that because you're expecting them to do crazy flips and stuff like that. But when these two guys hit each other, you feel it, and that's what wrestling's all about. And that's what I enjoyed about this match. You just felt everything. We did get to see a couple of big spots. I saw the Butcher do this top rope cross body. It's not the hugest spot in the world, but for a big guy like that, it's a pretty big spot. And it was. I was entertained by this match. I really enjoyed it. Jon Moxley takes the win, chokes out the Butcher with the Bulldog choke, just like he did Kingston the week before. I can't remember. Did Butcher tap or did he get called again? Can't remember.
I don't even remember. You saying that he did the Bulldog choke? I don't remember that. Did I go for a piss or something? Maybe I didn't see the end of the show. I don't even remember. I think I was a zombie at that point, but
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I'm thinking he tapped.
I can't see him tapping.
Oh, really?
Did you say he tapped?
I'm pretty sure he did because the whole thing was with Kingston's. He was talking about this Bulldog choke and stuff like that, and I think there was some talk afterwards about it too. I really can't remember, honestly. It's kind of a horrible thing to say at the end of the show here, but God, I feel like he choked him out. Anyways, it is what it is. Moxley retains. He's still the champ, of course. I'm hoping that this Archer Moxley match happens. If it's not next week, the week after. I like I said, we saw this match in New Japan for the United States Championship, the IWGP United States Championship. It was awesome. I think these guys can really put on a show. I hope it happens. That's all I can say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been building to it, and hopefully we get the payoff to it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that was a great show this week. We had a lot to get through, as always. Like I said, this was a complete 180 from the week before. I mean, the name of our episode last week was Dynamite Bunk AF. Like, honestly, the worst episode of Dynamite I've ever watched. We've seen about 52 of them now. We're covering our 33rd in a row this week. So, I mean, I feel like we have somewhat of the credentials to make that statement. But got to give credit where credit was due, man. They made a 180. This was an amazing episode. It was really good. And I mean, next week's looking like it's going to be a banger as well. So I can't wait.
Yeah, high expectations for next week.
You can't just put a delicious looking pie on the windowsill like that and then have it taste like shit. So, AEW's got to bring it next week. Where am I getting these analogies from? I have no idea.
Because we're talking about The Rock.
I guess
now you're thinking about pie.
Oh, how good was The Rock back in the day? All right. Thanks for watching, everybody on YouTube. Leave your comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe. For everybody listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the rest, make sure you're subscribed. Leave us a 5-star rating and all that good jazz. Help us get promoted. We're about 30 rows down on the Spotify list right now, so the more subs we get, the more 5-star ratings you get, the higher up we'll get, the more views and listens we'll get, and it'll help the podcast out a bunch. So thanks again for watching, all that good stuff. Peace out. Go fuck yourself, Cornette. Peace.